everyone, to another episode of the Adeptus Ridiculous podcast. Today is a little bit of a special episode. Usually, Bricky is the one teaching us all about the crazy, wacky, wide world of 40k, but today we have a special co-host. Our friend and yours, Kirioth, is back, and he's going to be teaching us a little something about a little something. But before that, if you enjoyed today's podcast, heading over to patreon.com/AdeptusRidiculous. You get access to our Discord, some real nice HD posters, bloopers when they happen. But yeah, patreon.com/AdeptusRidiculous. And Bricky, tell the fine folks where they can get some quality Adeptus Ridiculous merch.
Man, there's some quality merchandise over at orchidate.com. Check it out. Grab the scrote. Oh, wait, why should I post that?
Wait, hang on.
You want to grab that merch the way a Night Lord would grab that scrote.
Yo, scrote me up, Johnny. grab the fucking merchandise from orchidate.com. Description: shirts, hoodies, long sleeves, and stickers. Pretty great. In process of refilling dice. Will be updated in hopefully in a bit. And also, don't forget about your book club. We are finishing up the final of the Night Lords trilogy, Void Stalker. It's amazing. I like Night Lords. If you didn't fucking guess that. And now let's take it over to my colonial friend here.
I'm not sure.
And Kyria, thanks so much for subbing in that time way back when. That was really kind of you to help us out on such short notice. And so it's wonderful to actually be able to beat an episode with you as well. And I don't know jack about today's topic, so I'm excited to hear about it.
Well, this also will settle the ongoing thing in the comments for that episode where I stepped in briefly, where a good number of people, I think, just decided that somehow you had been transformed into a pasty Englishman, which is good to read. It's just like, yeah, why is Bricky English?
I like this new accent that Bricky has. He's very, he sounds very mature and very dignified. I like it.
Well, I don't need to
describe me as either of those things.
I don't need an accent. Right. I don't need an accent to be pasty. So that part's easy.
Can confirm. Also,
in a sense, though,
here, very pasty. Yeah.
In a sense, though, it could be the situation in which I turned into a quote unquote pasty Englishman. But hey, Alfarius and Omegon were two people. This time, just one of them's British.
You know what? I'll take that. That works.
There's two Brickies living inside of you.
Yep. Except you can tell the difference. That's not an Alfarius and Omegon scenario. You can tell the difference, obviously. One's British, one's not. One's British, the other one's trash. No,
we both need to be bald.
It'll happen one day. I'm pretty sure.
Kirioth.
Give it like 5 years and I'll be there.
Well, my friend, what's our topic today?
So today, last time, Dreadnoughts. This time, my other love. I have two distinct loves when it comes to vehicles in Warhammer 40k, and the second one is the tanks of the Imperial Guard. And when I say I love them, my current project for 40k is an armoured company, and I've got plans so far for 6,000 points worth of tanks, and the models for up to 3,500 for now. Not all of them built and painted yet, but I'm getting there. They are just... They're the best. They're like the perfect... If you want to sum up kind of Imperium vehicle design, then the Imperial Guard is the way to go, because it's like multiple different versions of a brick on tracks covered in guns. And that's why I like them so much.
I too enjoyed the Baneblades.
Every tank I've ever seen in 40k does indeed just look like a fucking brick on treads. With spikes and guns and skulls and the crazy little scrolls on it.
The purity seals or whatever they're called.
Yeah.
I mean, at least for the Imperium, there's plenty of really sleek tanks for other armies like the Eldar and stuff, but that's a lot less dumb looking, and that's the best, because freaking Guard is just, let's take World War I, World War II stuff, and just strap like bolters and meltas and a big cannon, and here we go.
The thing is, it also goes like almost like a level of silliness above that, because they take World War One and World War Two stuff, throw in the occasional bit of like modern tech in there, but generally make it worse than those two things combined by, you know, making them much bigger and much slower and much heavier than they need to be, and, you know, adding 6 guns to a tank does make it just that little bit too heavy to really function. But then you look at it and it's a Leman Russ and it's covered in guns, and you just go, I don't care. That's amazing, and I want at least 8 of them.
Sounds like
11 barrels of hell. Well,
So-
actually, the orc
There's not enough
mindset needs claws and things on it too.
Oh yeah.
It needs to needs to look like a Stompa, you know, where it's like a gigantic, just chunk ass mech. I mean, there's
hooks and, yeah.
there's in Dawn of War games. There was an old voice line I really liked. Whenever you built a Baneblade, it was always, they would always shout 11 barrels of hell coming through. 'Cause I think that thing actually has 11 separate barrels of guns.
Depending
so
on the
dumb.
variant, you could have even more than that, but we will get to that a bit later, because we're going to start out small. We're going to start out with like your kind of your basic stuff, because it scales. It gets more like silly and ridiculous and over the top the longer you look at Imperial Guard tanks. But like the baseline is the Chimera, so it's the armored personnel carrier for the Imperial Guard, and you just standard one. It's just a troop carrier. You stick a bunch of guys in the back. There's some las guns sticking out of the side of it so that they can fire on the move, because of course there are.
The last gun array.
Yeah, it's so good. So there's 6 hull-mounted las guns only on the side of the thing, so they can't fire forward. That's not possible. But you're delivering them like right into the heart of the enemy, so it doesn't matter. It's just, you know, getting a few pot shots off as you go past. And there's actually a couple of different versions of it, because you can give it the multi-laser. You can go for some twin-linked heavy bolter action on the front of it if you really want, or an autocannon, or a heavy flamer. So you can have some fairly decent guns on it, which is
Okay.
It's just a troop transport, but they've gone, you know what? We need a bit of like really heavy anti-infantry stuff on this thing, and yeah, it's like the most basic of the basic stuff that the Guard have in terms of transports, really.
If I'm
Yeah,
not no, DK, please.
Okay. I was just going to say, Shai posted a picture of these tanks, and I don't think I've ever seen a tank that had a fucking bulldozer-like shield attached to the front of it. And it's just, I don't know, it seems so fucking ridiculous. But yeah, you need those guns. You got to protect the infantry. You got to make sure they get into the, I was going to say the heart of darkness, but that's a totally different thing. But yeah, yeah.
I think actually a lot of the tanks and just armored units in the Guard Codex can actually take that. What's that called? The front little the dozer? I forget its name.
It's just,
bulldozer
if I remember right, it's just the
shield
dozer blade.
thing.
Dozer blade.
It helps with difficult terrain, which is good. But it's also quite an expensive upgrade for what it is, and
Yeah,
it's
it's
very
kinda
much an optional
mediocre.
extra. Yeah,
Yeah,
for the
it's
most
not
part, you're better
great.
off just taking it as is and not really changing anything, because you know there's other vehicles that you could take that would do far more like impressive stuff. But it is like the platform, the Chimera, for an absolute bunch of other units. So it's the same thing with like Space Marines and Rhinos, and how you've got like the different Predator versions based off that. With the Imperial Guard, it's like turned up to 11, because the Chimera chassis is responsible for like it's 9 other units. So they just take the Chimera itself, they strip the back off it, and for instance, stick a massive long-range artillery piece where the troop compartment was, and you end up with the Basilisk, which is firstly it's a great model, and also responsible for some of the most fun I had playing the game in 3rd edition, when it had an obscenely long range and the rules at our gaming club were relaxed, so I fired it onto someone else's table. Just
I remember
just
those. I remember those memes. That was back when the Death Strike missile would literally the range said unlimited on the sheet.
yeah,
I remember that. That
Yeah.
thing,
It is
it's
the
a
most
really dope model.
It is the most ridiculous tank I've ever seen, by the way.
It's a howitzer
that-
on wheels.
Yeah, it's the most ridiculous thing ever. It looks like it should just be a stationary artillery, and it's like, no, that's a tank.
I mean, it does. It does. I believe, if I'm not mistaken, stop moving when it fires because it needs to.
Oh, sure, of
But
course.
I'm just imagining it fucking like. Can you imagine you're getting chased down by like bloodthirsters and bloodletters, and you're like shit, and you put that shit into reverse, and you just angle the gun forward. You're just like trying to blast people on the way back. It's so
The recoil on that thing would probably blow the truck back for you.
the recoil probably would send the truck like backwards and fall over.
Does that thing
you could,
have like little grappling hooks that jump it, that like dig into the ground before it fires?
It's
'Cause
not
that's a huge thing.
It's not a siege tank.
It should be.
Starcraft.
Yeah. Oh yeah, that's an important note. The cannon is called the Earthshaker cannon, just to give you an idea as to
Of course it is.
I also love the fact they kept the hull mounted weapon on it. So like it's got the main gun, but like the Chimera, it's still got like a heavy bolter on the front or a flamer or something, which for a self-propelled artillery, sticking like just an anti-infantry gun on the front of it when it's carrying a gigantic like siege cannon that you would fire from literally miles away is just, it's like peak 40k. It's like, well, clearly we need one more gun on this because this isn't enough.
Yeah, what if the enemy infantry gets a little too close? You know, they've infiltrated your front lines, and you know that big old howitzer. You can't aim it like directly downward, right? You got to have a little, you know, in case they breach.
In all fairness, Terminators can teleport.
It's true.
There's-
true.
That's true.
I'm sure there are
Eldar
many.
can kind of teleport too, right?
The Eldar have a million tricks that make them bitches, but then you've got like, but then you got to think about like, okay, well now the orcs are throwing themselves literally their bodies from orbit, and then like the Tyranid Molochs are coming from the ground beneath you. Like, I can see the use for a little front gun. Not to mention the crew. You know, that's actually a rule I wish the Basilisk had. I wish that you could have 2 las guns on the data sheet for the dudes in the back that are like, oh shit, and they gotta start firing. Or like 2 las pistols.
That would be so good.
That would be so helpful. Just a little bit extra like that. Little extra piece.
I feel like for the most part, most sensible enemies are going to teleport behind it, as opposed to directly in front of the gigantic cannon, which again kind of makes the front-facing gun not all that helpful, since it's also facing the front. But you know what? If something goes wrong and you end up with a group of guys directly in front of the tank, having a heavy flamer, yeah, it's probably better than having nothing. But you're still going to wish that you weren't standing near it anyway, I would have thought.
I want this thing to make.
Suggesting that a 40k tank has too many guns?
There's no such thing. It's
How
not
dare
possible.
I wanna make the idea that this fucking tank makes the semi-truck beeping noises when it turns around. So like people arrive behind it and it has to like spin around, and like about 40 of these things in a cacophony of like trying to turn their heavy bolters. That's what I want. I want that now.
I like it. That's canon now.
There is something similar to this, right, that I wanted to mention, even though you don't really see them. It's not a thing that is, well, it's not really a thing anymore, which is the Colossus, which is also an artillery piece that's based on the Chimera chassis. But I just want to show it to you because of the gun. I've never seen one of these on the tabletop. I don't know that there's even rules for it anymore.
Oh my god! What the fuck is that?
We call that the Imperial Guard's definition of a chode.
Yeah. Immediately, it's just like, wow, that is somebody is overcompensating a lot.
What's it fire?
Ludicrous, isn't it? So it's got the it's named after the Colossus siege mortar, which is the stupid gun on top of it, which fires like concussion shells. So when they hit, they just release massive explosive shockwaves that pulverize anything that's within range of it.
I was about to say, what caliber is the shell in there? 8,000?
I love the fact that there's two guys who are clearly loading it, but how like the size of the shell on the back of the model. I believe this is a third-party one. I think this is a conversion as opposed to being like an official production one. But I just love the idea that a shell that small would go into a gun that big.
Oh my god, he is holding a shell, isn't he?
Wait, is he?
Yeah.
And it's tiny!
Oh, what the shit?
Yeah.
I thought it would have to be auto-loaded because of the sheer the size.
Right.
It's mad. It's properly mental.
It's like driving a Volvo through the Grand Canyon, eh?
I love it. I love that thing. It's the most ridiculous. Like, actually, no, that's not fair. It's one of the most ridiculous. It still falls below what I would class as one of the dumbest. Just one of the dumbest vehicle/weapon combinations I would say in all of 40k. And that might seem like a bit of a bold claim, but we are talking about the Death Strike, which...
Yes! I love this model. I've used it so often. It's so bad.
It looks so cool, though. Like, that actually looks like, actual, like, IRL military shit. Like the little missile launcher tank thing. That actually looks dope as hell.
I think of all of the Imperial Guard stuff, that is actually one of the ones that looks the most functional in a way, like the most reasonable. The thing is, it seems like that when you look at it, but what you need to know about the Death Strike is that the thing that it's carrying is an intercontinental ballistic missile.
Oh, really?
Which makes its existence on the tabletop absolutely insane. Like, you deploy this on the front lines with the rest of your army, but it's firing... It just...
Wait a minute. At the front lines, why? It's an intercontinental missile!
Because 40k games have a specific scale, right? Like, it's a size of the board. So So if I'm not mistaken, because I believe they removed its ability to be unlimited range, the board size is like 60 inches by 44. I think the Death Strike has a 240-inch range.
Yeah, it's something like that. It's still ridiculous. Like, I love it. I love it because it's so over the top. And I did specifically note down, because it always makes me laugh when I read it, that they are destructive enough that if you fire one without having like due cause, like unless there is an actual definite specific reason as to why you need to fire one of these, you could get done, and to fire it without needing it is a capital offence. So it's like, law-wise, if you just launch one of these off for the crack, then you're probably going to get shot just for firing it, because that's how like massively destructive it is. Yeah, as Shai's pointed out, even on the art, the guys are clearly fighting at close range, but they're firing the missile.
They're firing
intercontinental missiles.
They're firing a heavy bolter at something in front of them. That's a great... Maybe they're firing at an enemy in the back line, but even so...
Also, with how destructive these things sound, they're firing a lot of them. There's another one going off in the background, and I guess all of those smoke trails aren't necessarily from these missiles, but still.
I like to believe that they are, just because that makes it even better.
I know, right? They are looking to destroy a continent. Like, that continent is fucked, and whoever's on it, you're done. Jesus.
What's that old guard meme where it's like, Sergeant, do you see the army over there, sire? It's like, yes, sire. I don't want to. Understood, sire.
Yeah.
Fire the missiles.
The intercontinental missiles.
It's so good. It's one of my favorites. One of my favorite like Imperial Guard models, just because of how absolutely absurd it is. I do actually know someone who used to run an army of these, and he had 7 in the army. It never won anything. I'm pretty sure he said that it's never won anything, but showing up with 7 death strikes in your army was a lot of fun. So
it's about the moral damage you inflict on your opponent. It's like if when I'm putting together my Night Lord stuff, and right now they obviously suck like massive dick. They're terrible. But if I can make one custodian or fail morale, like I win the more. Like you get the medal.
Yep.
I get to leave with your pride.
Yeah, that's the best victory to aim for. That's the one
Exactly.
that makes you feel the happiest.
That's such a Night Lord mentality, too, by the way.
I know. It's like the moment one of you runs, I win, you lose. Nihi.
I got your hat.
I'm gonna go to custodian dying, and then this Night Lord is gonna walk up there with this heavy Russian accent. He's gonna be like, "Got your nose," and runs away.
With his thumb between his fingers, I got it.
No, he actually cuts your nose off, and he's holding it. He's like,
Oh shit!
"Got your
Okay,
nose."
fair.
That's Night
fair.
Lords.
That's
Come on.
Yeah, that is a very Night Lord thing to do. You're right. I'm sorry.
What you got next for us, Kirion?
So before we shift over to Leman Russes, there are a few other variants that just they're not as fun or exciting as the ones we've seen, but you've got things like anti-tank variants as well. There is a more sensible kind of Deathstrike-esque version, which is the Manticore. Basically, the Chimera is like the base platform for either stuff that is fast and in the enemy's face, like the Hellhound, which is just a Chimera with a flamethrower on the front of it, because you definitely need one of those. There's also a toxic gas version as well, because it's 40k.
Oh, the Bane Wolf?
Yeah, it's the Bane Wolf, which just goes around poisoning people to death, which is lovely. And the Devil Dog, which it just has a melter cannon. So it just drives
I like
in,
these.
hopefully blows up a tank, and then most likely will also die, because it's a Chimera and they do not have great armor. They are fast, though. In terms of speed, like, they're the fastest thing on tracks that the Imperial Guard have access to. Like, on road, it's like 70 kilometers an hour and 55 kilometers an hour off-road.
Holy
which is
shit.
Pretty damn quick, really.
What's the
thing
what's
is
the last
schmoovin'.
tank that Shai just posted with the 4 cannons on it?
So
Which
that's the
one is that?
Hydra. Yeah, that's the anti-air.
Oh, okay, gotcha. I was gonna say it's. I guess I should have figured that out since it's pointing almost straight up in the air, firing. What else would it be? Genius. Yeah.
It's a really cool version of that tank, actually. I do like that version of the Chimera. Again, it's one of the ones that looks more like modern, I guess. Kind of more real in a way. But yeah.
Though with that tank, you could probably it's for anti-air, but you could aim those downward and straight forward and fuck some people up.
I believe
tank
it.
up.
Does it? I think it fires a flak autocannon of sorts, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's definitely an anti-air, specialized
Gotcha.
thing.
Gotcha.
It's pretty cool. I like that. I really like the Hellhound, posted up there. 'Cause yes, it is just a Chimera that has a shitload of flamers on it, but I really enjoy it as well because I think in game when a vehicle dies, if you roll a 6, it explodes. But I think the Hellhound, on a 3, it explodes. So often
Yeah, it's
I'll
got an
run that
increased
thing
chance.
in. Yeah, I'll run that thing in, just torch infantry, and then I hope when they shoot it, I blow up and kill them. It's great.
I kind of love that in the tabletop, a lot of the vehicles are if it gets destroyed, you have to roll to see if it fucking blows up and explodes in your face. I like that.
The Wyvern, I love the Wyvern mortar. It's my favorite models.
Oh, the little stubby one with the mortars on it?
Yeah, it's like an anti-infantry
so-
mortar.
Goofy. Those little stubby mortar cannons, they look so goofy, but boy.
It's also
mortars are no
threatening,
fucking
given
joke.
that you know that every single one of them is a mortar. It's like that's a lot of pain coming out of that.
Yep, that sure is. For as derpy as it looks, that's no fucking joke.
I always wondered when the guard fight an enemy, because obviously guard in the tabletop is much different than guard in the lore, just due to sheer volume of enemies. I wonder if the enemies they fight as guard, with a legitimate guard assault, just get overwhelmed by stimuli, because they're dealing with las guns and mortars and tank shells and sentinels and flamethrowers and Bulgrin beating your ass. Is there just too much hitting you? I can never tell.
I mean, it's got to be bad, right? There's even when you. It's also the numbers thing as well, because the guard are often deployed in huge numbers against threats, and so it's all of the stimuli that you might expect from like being in a trench or something in one of the world wars, but infinitely worse. I mean, given the advances in weaponry as well, you've got energy weapons, not just lasguns, but like plasma blasters, and even just like one Leman Russ with the amount of weaponry they carry is going to be making so much more noise than a lot of other stuff, and that's only one of them. When you've got like an entire squadron going in, it's got to be massively overwhelming. But then again, they're the Guard, and so they are probably trained to deal with it, and the ones who give up usually die instantly anyway. So it's
or the Commissar gets them.
Or the Commissar gets them.
I'm curious, how many Guard are taken out by, like, friendly fire? Because there's so many, like, catastrophically ridiculous, Adeptus ridiculous, gigantic weapons and explosions that are going off. They gotta kill a shitload of their own people on accident. Like, even if you get Vox, like, oh, hey, by the way, we're launching an intercontinental missile at those guys in front of you. Good luck. Like, how many people, how many Guard get just annihilated by their own weaponry?
I don't know that Games Workshop have ever like written into lore like the kind of friendly fire casualties that Guard have, but I always assume that it's got to be bad. Like between the existence of Commissars just flat out them being a thing, and all the countless like ordnance weapons and blast weapons, and the fact that a lot of when Guard go to war they are backed up by a significant amount of artillery and tanks. I just don't see most commanders really caring all that much.
That's true. You have so many units. It's like, oh, we lost 100 guys in friendly fire. It's fine. We've got 1 million more coming. Who cares?
It's got to be one of those things where it's just an acceptable thing. They just go in there like, well, we lost like 5%, but it's fine. Yeah. It's okay.
They're expendable.
Yeah, they are. There's like, what was the? I know it's just a meme, but the whole they're a more Imperial Guard than, what was it? Molecules in the universe or something. I saw once. Very obviously wrong, wow. But I really like the idea of there just being an unlimited horde. No matter what you do.
I really enjoy that 4chan green text with the planet with like 40 quintillion Guard. And it's like orc presence low. There are still some orcs.
Still orcs, yeah.
Yeah. So for like getting into like the proper firepower and like the kind of backbone of, I would suggest, most Guard assaults, gonna go into the Leman Russ because it is like for me the like iconic 40k tank, the Leman Russ. So the Leman Russ is a main battle tank. It's not fast like the Chimera. It doesn't have any transport capacity, but it does have a significant amount of like heavy armor, and it is also covered in guns. So you've got one turret weapon. You've got a heavy weapon that is mounted directly into the hull that you can swing from side to side. And if you want to, you can take a sponson on either side of the tank and put an additional heavy weapon in each of those. So you can have, for instance, a Leman Russ that's got a battle cannon in the turret and 3 heavy bolters, one on the front and one on each side. They're not fast. They can be fast. That's not fair. They're not massively fast to start with. You can tune them, so the standard is like they're like 20 kilometers off-road and about 30 to 35 on-road, which is not hugely quick, but there's a couple of different places that have said things like if you tune the engine properly, they can manage 70 on-road, which is mental. Because look at the amount of it's covered in weapons. It's got like 150 mil thick armor, so it weighs 60 tons. So for something that heavy to be going that quickly, it's like pretty terrifying by itself.
So what you're saying is they're about as slow as Leman Russ in a reading comprehension test.
Exactly that.
It's funny because he's stupid.
Yeah. Thanks, Bricky.
You're welcome.
Got the joke.
You're welcome. I love being
so proud of you.
I love being American.
Oh man.
It's for reference, DK, you know the M1 Abrams tank, the classic American tank?
Yeah.
That's 55 tons. So the Leman is a bit heavier, and it's fucking it's schmoovin'.
Wow. Okay. It's a shame it's named after such a prick, though, right?
It's also frankly, I'm going to say it. It's also confusing. Now that there's a Leman Russ like Primarch model, It's just made things more confusing when it comes to just searching for them in general. Luckily, the tank tends to come top of most results, as is proper, because it's cooler than the Primarch. But still,
Yes, yes, yes. We're all shitting on Leman Russ now. Yes.
it's just the truth. It's an iconic vehicle, and give it its own name. It deserves it. It's the measurements for it. It's very 40k. It wouldn't be hugely functional if it existed in real life. It's 60 tons. The length is 7 meters. The height is nearly 4.5 meters. So it's really, really tall for what it is. And the width is only slightly more than the height of it. So it's very much like a bit of a box on tracks, really. And you also have to fit like multiple people in there. So there's a commander, a driver, gunner. You've got a loader for the main cannon. And if you've got the 2 sponsons, there's a guardsman sitting in each one of those. So there's a guy just sat in the side armor with the gun directly in front of them, firing out. The sponsons aren't that well armored, funnily enough. So if you get shot in the sponson, then you've lost one of your gunners. Because they have to sit out there and fire them from inside it, which is quality. Unless, you're the one doing it, in which case you probably want to be anywhere else but there, but
Yeah. Shai actually posted a nice little gif about where everybody would be seated in these tanks.
There's some really good cutaway diagrams of them. Like, people have done some really good artwork showing them. It's cramped, and I mean, look how much space the engine takes up in the back. Just because of how heavy it is. It's just.
I suppose it would need a pretty massive engine, wouldn't it? Considering what that engine has to push along.
It also can take any fuel. Anything that burns, it can run off it, which is which is awesome.
That is convenient. That's a convenient fuel source. Anything. Yeah, that's pretty cool.
There's an absolute shed load of variants of it as well. So like the one with the battle cannon is just a Leman Russ battle tank. You can have them with twin las cannons in the turret, which is kind of rare, but they do exist. There's a Conqueror variant that has got like a slightly weaker main gun, but it means it's a bit faster and it fires quicker. It's just not as powerful. Like the weight isn't as severe. There's a couple of favorites for me. So the Executioner version of the Leman Russ is great because they just stick a massive plasma cannon on the turret.
Oh, wow.
which is great. It's actually the plasma destroyer, so it's like it's just a more powerful plasma cannon that still has the capability to be like supercharged and wound the thing that's carrying it if you roll a 1. So you can really mess up your Leman Russ if you've stuck one of those on it and have bad rolls, which I like it when that happens. So
wow, that is a gigantic fuck-off plasma cannon. God, that's pretty great. The Executioner with the plasma cannon. Or the Plasma Destroyer.
If I'm not mistaken,
that's some naming.
I particularly enjoy the Punisher variant.
Yeah, I was about to mention the Punisher because that's one of the best. Stick a massive Gatling cannon on the front of it. Yeah, let's go.
Who needs a cannon when you can just burn everything to death?
It's so good.
Game,
everybody
it has,
inside the tank is deaf.
If I'm not mistaken, in game it has 20 shots, but the Leman Russ, if you don't move it very far, you can fire it twice. So that thing puts out 40 shots. It's just it's just like
if you've Leman Russes have got grinding advance, so if you move like half their movement but no further, then you can fire all of their guns twice. So you can absolutely load up on shots and just rip through stuff. It's such a good rule.
God, that's so many dice.
I mean, if you wanted to really go for like the anti-infantry angle, then yeah, sticking a Punisher Gatling cannon on it and then 3 heavy bolters, you can do some really fun stuff to infantry squads. And by fun, I mean fun for you.
Obliterate them. Fun,
not the other
fun
person.
for you. Really shit for the people you're going against.
Yeah.
Holy shit.
Now, the one I'm sad that you can't get in 40k is the Leman Russ Incinerator, which I really wish there were rules for.
Oh, the flamethrower variant.
Yeah. Whoa! It's got a massive Volkite gun on the front of it. Volkite is like traditionally Space Marine stuff, and specifically it's from from the Horus Heresy. And like before the Heresy, Volkite was a big thing for the Legions. But the Guard, they had a Leman Russ with a massive Volkite culverin, demi-culverin on the turret, and for a start, it looks so good.
It does. It looks like it's something that belongs in like a sci-fi movie. Like when in the one that's like all gray looks like it should be like it looks like it should be in the Imperium. Empire. Yeah.
It's kind of for me. It's like the mix of like, because the Leman Russ, like as a shape, it's very like mix of World War I and World War II. But the ones that have got like the plasma executioner and the incinerator having like a full sci-fi weapon in the turret, I don't know, it just adds something to it and makes it look just even more threatening and even cooler than it did already. And I really wish that was available in 40k, but it's not, which makes me sad because I would 100% buy one immediately if it was an option.
Yeah,
I'm with
on
you.
Looks alone, that one's the best one for sure.
I'm definitely with you. I love the combination of the old and new. They do that a lot in 40k, and that's kind of the shtick, sci-fi fantasy. But like the Land Raider is literally a World War I tank, but then you slap on those like las cannons on the side and stuff, and it gives it this kind of feel to it. It's really neat.
It makes it like something that's super unique to 40k. I feel like there's not really any other franchise or kind of universe that mixes them together quite the same way. And I think it's all the added, like, extra kind of religious stuff that you get with a lot of stuff as well. Like the fact that Space Marines have got power armor, and they have the option for things like plasma pistols, but then you can also get units that are just straight up a guy with a sword and a shield covered in, like, prayer paper and candles. And it's, like, it's such a good mix.
It's fun, too, considering that they, like, can strap on a bolter and everything. They have basically an automatic grenade launcher, but then before battle, they're burning incense and praying to it, so it'll be okay.
Yeah,
I feel like AdMech has a similar feel sometimes, because like you see the Onager Dune crawlers, and it's just like, oh, that's really cool, but then you read the lore, and it's like, that dude's a battery.
Mm-hmm. It's so good. It's so good. There's a couple of weirder Leman Russes as well. There's one that I've never been able to find a decent picture of, which is like a really one-off version. So there was an Arachnos version of the Leman Russ, which had 8 legs instead of tracks. It was only mentioned in one thing. I forget which codex it was in, but there was like a brief mention of, there was like this experimental Leman Russ that had 8 legs. It never made it into anything and never became like a real thing, but just the fact that there was just that little mention of it, I've always wanted to see someone do it, because it just sounds mental, having 4 legs on each side.
What the shit?
Is that like a spider tank?
Know. No, it would be fun? Kit bash that bastard and call it the Catachin Devil Leman Russ. It's like the train long fucking spiders.
Oh, gross!
Oh,
yeah, it's the Catachin Devil Leman Russ. That's the big brain play.
That would work.
Someone needs to do it. Brain. Someone make it immediately.
We have a lot of talented fans out there. Someone's going to make it.
Oh yeah, someone sent me, multiple people in fact, sent me STLs to print a cardboard dreadnought within literally days of that episode going out. So I know that there are people out there who can do it, 100%.
I'm very happy for you and your cardboard.
It wasn't just the fact that it was done so quickly, it was the number of them that I got. I was expecting like 1 or 2 people to go, hey, I made it like just an actual dreadnought out of cardboard, but instead no, it's like, hey, you can 3D print this now, but repeatedly. It's like, this is amazing.
It's a tank, isn't it? It's a dreadnought, isn't it?
It's close enough. It'll do. It's made of cardboard. That's fine. So outside of the incinerator, there are some stuff that isn't really a thing anymore either, which makes me sad. So there's a Destroyer Tank Hunter variant of the Leman Russ, and a Thunderer, which they basically share the same. They share the same deal, where they don't have a turret. They don't have any sponson weapons. Instead, they just have a cannon of some kind sticking out of the hull. So it's quite. I forget the name of it. There's a particular World War II German tank that was like a tank hunter. so it was like low profile, and it just had the cannon sticking out of the front of it. And these are like kind of similar to that. I really like it, but it's not a thing that you can buy anymore. The Destroyer Tank Hunter, anyway. You can still get the Thunderer from Forge World. That's the one, Shy. Yeah, the Panzerjäger. It's cool, and it works really well with the shape of the Leman Russ. I think because it makes it a bit more like low profile and sleek. Which, yeah, I like it. I like that a lot. But you can't get the Destroyer anymore.
Something about that Tank Hunter just doesn't look right to me.
I think it's just you expect it to have a turret, and it just doesn't.
Yeah,
like you kind of set up to.
Derpy. It looks. It's weird. It's weird with the turret coming out there. It's just weird. It looks strangely phallic and weird. Like the fucking tank has like a
phallic.
Semi, it's weird looking to me. I don't like it.
I can get the weird bit. I'll be honest. I'm not seeing the phallic. I'm not quite there yet. I'm not quite.
Okay. Well, that's probably for the best. That means, I have the mentality of like a 12-year-old. So the fact that you don't see it is probably a really great statement about your mental presence, and probably a pretty low bar for me.
So before we shift off the Leman Russ, there is also, it does have its own version of the hilarious Colossus siege mortar that the Chimera has, because you can have a bombard variant.
Let's go!
Oh my god! So stupid looking. Oh my god.
Initially, I wasn't even going to talk about this, but the Colossus got such a good reaction, I wanted to show you this one as well. Because look at it.
So fucking stupid.
For me, it's not just the fact that it looks the way it does. They've carved a big chunk out of the front of it where the hull-mounted gun would go. Which is just, I don't understand why you would do it, but they have.
Yep.
So it's an option if you want it.
It was so back heavy that I guess they had to just chop off the front. I don't know.
It's so dumb. It's so good. I mean, essentially, the Leman Russ is like being the main battle tank. It's just the most versatile thing that they have, because you can put any number of guns in the turret. There's a bunch of different. You can have anti-infantry at range on the sponsons and the front. You can have a las cannon on the front. You can have plasma cannons all over it. You can put heavy flamers on it. You can have anything from stuff that will absolutely obliterate everything at short range with the Demolisher variant, which has just got a short but really powerful cannon on the front, all the way up to a tank hunter that's got a really long-barreled gun in the Vanquisher. It's like it's so good because you can just build them to do literally anything you like, and no matter what you build them to do, they'll be pretty good at it, which is why I like them so much. They look great and they can do absolutely anything you ask of them. It's perfect. It's so good.
Just wish they were named after someone else.
Call them
but they found it though, so it's okay.
No, it's not.
Oh, okay. All right, fair enough.
I don't care who found it. Give it a different name.
Yeah.
The Manticore is a good name.
Yeah, I like that. I'd go with that instead of the Leman Russ.
All right, come on, Curiosity. Let's get to the boy I've been waiting for.
It's the Baneblade.
Let's go!
It has to be the Baneblade.
Ah, the Baneblade.
Let's
I've
go!
heard of the Baneblade.
The Baneblade is... I currently own 3 of them. That's how good they are. They are just the best. And it's worth pointing out when I say that, they are pretty damn big. So, essentially, if the Chimera is the fast kind of armoured personnel carrier sort of platform for artillery and anti-air, the Leman Russ is the main battle tank. The Baneblade is like the Leman Russ on some cocktail of drugs. That means it is so massively big. It is a super heavy tank, which is covered in guns. Pretty much every variant that you can take of it is covered in guns. So it has, in its kind of stock format, just the Baneblade form, you've got a mega battle cannon up top. You've got a demolisher cannon in the hull. You've got up to, I think it can take more than 4 sponsons, actually. If I remember right, in the army builder app that Games Workshop made, You can have up to like 6 of them, I think. So you can have more than 2.
You can take up to 4, but there's 6 like
4?
spots
The
on the
6
side.
Oh yeah, because you can shift them. Kind of
Yeah.
the configuration can change. You can have them all like at the front, at the back, in the middle. You can kind of shift them around. Each sponson has got a has got twin-linked heavy bolter and a las cannon. It also has a twin-linked heavy bolter set into the hull. Yeah, it is just covered in guns. It has a massive crew to control it because of how big and difficult it is. It's got a very angry machine spirit. So you've got a commander, a driver, 3 gunners, 3 loaders, a comms operator, and you can have a full-on tech priest in a Baneblade, just keeping it running because
God bless it.
It's that hardcore. It's so good. It's also massively slow. You'll be shocked to learn. It's like,
What a surprise!
It's like 15 kilometers an hour off road.
Holy shit! I didn't realize it was 300 tons.
Yep. Yeah, 300.
Damn.
5
300
times
tons
the
in weight.
of a Leman Russ. What the fuck?
Jesus Christ. Well, I mean, it's like a fucking fortress tank. This thing's crazy. I'd heard of Baneblades. I guess I'd kind of seen Baneblades, but I didn't realize the scope. Of how fucking massive these things are. Like
They are properly mental. Like they're such a good vehicle because again it's just 40k but turned up. As if it wasn't enough to have a massive main battle tank that you could switch out every weapon on. There's a version that's bigger than that even in the form of the Baneblade. And there's it's similar to the Leman Russ in that you can have just a ton of different variants. So they've all got different names, like specific names, which no matter how many times I have sat there and tried to memorize all of them, I forget multiples of them. Because, in my defense, right, I'm just gonna run you through them, okay? So, all
right.
You've got the Baneblade, you've got the Bane Sword, the Bane Hammer, the Doom Hammer, the Storm Sword, the Storm Blade, the Storm Lord, the Bane Sword.
Wow, yeah, there are
that
a few,
chart
yeah.
says it all. Yeah, that's a great chart. That's amazing. I love it.
That's a pretty good chart. Shy, didn't you kit bash an orc Baneblade at some point? Yeah, I was gonna say I was pretty sure I've seen a Baneblade model, and I still didn't understand the scope of it. And seeing all these new images of it, it's like, holy Jesus Christ! Like fucking God, these things are massive.
Here's a fun little comparison. Here's an image of a regular American Abrams tank and soldier. That's a Space Marine Land Raider, and there's Rhino, Leman Russ, Land Raider, and then Baneblade.
Oh boy.
The Estrella Super Heavy Tank is a totally different thing. That's far off.
Yeah.
But yeah, this thing is a moving apartment. A moving apartment. So
yeah,
cool.
that's
great.
Apartment, that's bigger than some houses.
It is a when you want to take your flat for a ride and you just fill them a bunch of guns.
What is it? It's the you won't come to church, church will come to you. Is one of the things for the Baneblade, I think.
I'm
I think that
surprised
also
it doesn't
applies to the
have like a
Imperial Titan as
cathedral
well.
on it.
Oh, there's a few that have been kind of I've seen a few that have been like kit bashed to have like full on chapels and stuff on the top. The most famous Baneblade of all is Yarrick's Baneblade, because Yarrick has his own Commissar Yarrick has his own personal Baneblade, which is called the Fortress of Arrogance, which is the best name.
I remember that. We were talking about that the last episode. Yeah.
Yes, we were.
It's great. It's so good. I think it's got to be. It might be just in terms of the sheer scale of it, like just one of the most solid models that Games Workshop's made.
It's also a Hellhammer, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yeah. So what you've got is the Hellhammer version.
I had to refer to the chart.
Yeah,
it's the close range variant, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, it takes off the mega battle cannon, and instead it has a Hellhammer cannon, which is basically like the normal battle cannon you get on a Leman Russ. So it's got a shorter barrel, and it can fire quicker and like higher caliber shells. So it can deal with loads of infantry at the same time. There's also the Stormhammer. Now, the Stormhammer is something that you can use in 40k, but it's a Legends datasheet, which makes me sad, which was originally for the Solar Auxilia, which is a specific regiment of the Imperial Guard, which it's just covered in battle cannons. It's got a mega up top, it's got 2 underneath. It's a really cool variant of it. It's also very, very expensive to buy from Forge World because it is £168. So
that is a spicy model. It's probably huge though, right?
Oh, it's the same size as the Baneblade is, but the Baneblade is £85. So there's a bit of a premium on it.
Oh yeah, Jesus, that is
Lots of flat resin panels as well, which if you
gross.
If you like sitting there with your hands in hot water bending stuff back into shape, it's absolutely the thing for you.
Is that anyone's fetish? Is that anyone's thing? Does anybody enjoy doing that?
I don't know, man.
Anyone who likes that.
I don't know, man. Luton gives me shit if I don't fix my mold lines, so whatever, man.
Yeah, but we all know Luton's,
Yeah, he's all about his mold lines. Gotta get that perfect thing. Drill your barrels in, Bricky. No, my bolters have safety on. Also, yeah, Yark's tank goes full church. It's fucking cool.
Yep.
It's great. It's so good. I don't know whether. No, I don't think I have. So, there's one of the things I also really like about just the model as a whole is you can mess with them quite a bit to make them kind of personalized. So. The one that I'm throwing in now is the one that I made as the backbone for my armoured company. So it counts. Ooh. It counts as a Baneblade, but I changed it around because it's an armoured company that is used by the Ordo Hereticus of the Inquisition, so going after witches and psychers and the like. And I liked the idea of having an armoured company that was a bit like witch huntery, so lots of candles, torture devices on the back of the tank, that sort of thing. But you can do loads with them, and you can make them like really customizable without having to do a huge amount. Like a few accessories here and there can like properly church them up, or you can make them look a bit more modern if you wanted to. It's a really good kit, and it's peak 40k. It's a gigantic, super heavy tank covered in weapons. It's perfect.
Mm-hmm. God, that Fortress of Arrogance looks really cool.
Yeah, that's super dope.
It's so good.
Jesus.
Though I think that might be a Kit Bash one, because that's a Baneblade. That's not a Hellhammer. They maybe that was one somebody else put together, because on the top that's just the Commissar Yark model, like separate, and his model looks like trash. like most guard characters currently do.
Yeah, I suppose if that was the Baneblade, it'd be a lot bigger, and he'd be a lot smaller if it was to scale, right?
Yeah, technically he'd be a lot smaller.
Yeah.
I'm trying to work out if maybe that's one of the older Baneblades, because there's been a couple of different versions. There was an older, I think a third-party company made a Baneblade for a bit. Or was it the metal Baneblade that Games Workshop did? There is like an older, smaller version of it from years and years and years and years ago that might be based off. But it's kind of hard to tell.
Yeah, the dudes next to that Baneblade that Shy posted are quite a bit smaller than what Yark is on that Fortress of Arrogance or whatever that one we saw is. Still looks really dope though, even if it is whatever.
It's great. It's a great model. The tank itself is awesome. It's also like the Leman Russ, massively flexible. So there's a bunch of different variants. The Storm Sword is it's got the Hellhammer Siege Cannon on it. There's also one that has a massive volcano cannon, which is good for shooting Titans.
The Shadow Sword.
The Shadow Sword, yeah. The Shadow Sword has got like there's a variant that's called the Stormblade that has got a massive plasma blast gun, which I think is the same one that you find on the Warhound. I'm pretty sure it's the same gun, which they just stuck into a Baneblade chassis, which again is awesome. Did a very similar thing with the Storm Lord as well. The names are the worst. I'm just gonna say it. I love the tanks. I love the variants. Trying to remember which one is which it can get a little bit daft. The Stormlord literally has a Vulcan Mega Bolter on it, which again is a Warhound weapon.
I love that tank so much. It's so stubby. And the Vulcan Mega Bolter is actually legitimately good, but it's so short.
It's really good. It also can transport 40 infantry.
Yes.
So
I remember that.
It's technically a transport, but the thing is, when given the speed of these things, it's like it does point out that with the Stormlord, you're supposed to be delivering infantry into the battle, but a lot of the time, if it gets there, then the infantry won't have anyone to fight because the Stormlord is covered in anti-infantry guns. It's got a Vulcan Mega Bolter on it. It's got heavy bolters all over it. It's literally like the anti-infantry perfect vehicle, and it's delivering infantry into other infantry. So by the time they get there, there's none left. They just get out and they're like, well, okay,
so
we're here.
If you're an Imperial Guard, you probably want to be riding in one of these, because then you probably, you'll arrive, nothing to kill. Oh, darn, I'm not going to be in the throngs of battle, and I probably won't die. Guess I gotta get back into the impenetrable tank that shoots everything in front of us. Aw, jeez.
Let's have a nice sit down and a cup of tea whilst
cup of
everyone
tea.
else is dealing with the issue.
Exactly! Your tank already dealt with the issue. Great! Let's go back home.
I do think that particular picture is really overselling how quickly these things can move.
Yeah, I was gonna say that in that picture. That's moving, right?
There's a sense of like momentum and speed there, and I don't think the speed is really something that should be represented.
It's because it's going downhill. It's the downhill momentum.
Look at the amount of smoke coming out of the back jets.
Yeah, yeah.
It's just like if the planet isn't dead by the guard, the global warming will make it done.
Yeah.
It's fine. With all the irradiated planets in 40K, global warming is the least of their worries, right?
I was going to say, do you think any planet survives long enough outside of your core, like, big name planets to even worry about that? I'm assuming there's probably some sort of terraforming stuff that they can still do. But half the time, no one really focuses on the terraforming aspect when you've got like an entire horde of orcs killing everyone in a hive city, and then there's like 8 cities left. And I guess the logistics of keeping climate change at bay, not that important for 40K.
Yeah, not that important when you're in the middle of a war,
Yeah.
Guys, we have to move from fossil fuels. There are orcs killing us all.
Hey, there's always some orcs.
Yeah. It's just like, well, we changed over to renewable energy, but the orcs are still burning petrol, so I don't know what you're supposed to do.
The orcs
send
don't
a
know it's not
representative
petrol.
See, the Necrons have it the right way. They just use... What the fuck does Necrons use? Like, I don't know what they use for fuel. They use something.
I'm sure they've got like some weird like shenanigans going on with like infinite energy sources or something, right? They've got to have.
They have to. They literally have snipers that enter a different dimension and then shoot you in the face and then leave.
It's weird in that like a lot of the stuff when Games Workshop are like creating things, they will do like super specific, well, like specifications for stuff. Like for all of the Imperial Guard tanks, you can find how much they weigh, how long they are, what type of fuel they use, even the name of the engine, even though it's fictional. And really, do you need to know the engine in a Leman Russ? Like, is it going to affect anything? But then there's stuff that I think is kept deliberately like, it's like almost sciencey, but not quite. It's like a bit vague. So you know that it works, but don't poke at it too much because then it might start to break down and you might go, that's not a thing.
It makes me think a little bit of Mass Effect, because they have a codex and it lets you like learn everything about the Mass Effect universe and how things work. But if you really take all that knowledge and put it into the game, like often when people get shot in Mass Effect, you're like, some cutscenes they have their shields up and sometimes they don't, and it's like, it kind of breaks down a little bit. But it's appreciated that they actually put enough effort into it.
Yeah. It gives it like that kind of that basis of reality where it's like you don't really feel like you need to poke anymore. You know vaguely how it works. It seems consistent. It's fine, and then you just leave it.
Yeah.
So before we wrap up, we're now on to just the last few tanks, the last few that I've saved, the weirdest and oldest for last. So the Baneblade and the various kind of versions of it, they are awesome, they are cool. There are some properly ridiculous tanks that are still left over, and these are stuff that
ridiculous.
Is that the second time it's?
Whenever you say ridiculous, we have to do it. You stumbled into this yourself. This is your fault.
It's the thing. You've sprung my trap card.
I'm literally going to write that down right now, so I just do it myself every time. That's the way around it. I'll just do it.
Don't worry. If you miss it, we won't.
Got double backup for it. So the last few tanks are these are Forge World specific things. So stuff that you can only buy from Forge World. That, I mean, for a start, I'm gonna start with the Malcador Assault Tank.
Oh, let's go. Because
these are amazing. They're not good, but they are amazing. So the Malcador is it's still technically a mainline battle tank because it predates the Leman Russ. So this is what was being used before the Leman Russ existed. And the configuration is really similar. So you've got not exactly a turret up top. You've kind of got I don't even know what you'd call it. Just like the hull kind of extends up. There's no turret that turns.
But not really. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah. And it's got a front-facing hull-mounted weapon. And it does have weapons coming out the sides. Except the sponsons are they're kind of recessed. They're not sticking out.
Okay.
And it's like an older tank that was used a lot until the Leman Russ showed up. But the Leman Russ was way more popular, more reliable, and just generally better as a tank. And so now the Malcador tanks are borderline never used. They're kind of backups for if anything goes massively wrong. A good number of Imperial Guard regiments just wouldn't even know what to do with them because they are that rare and out of use at this point. There's a few different variants of them. They had a lot of use in the Siege of Rax, which is a fun little I think they kind of got the chance to shine a bit with that. There's a few different versions of them. So they have a battle cannon. They can carry heavy bolters, las cannons, or autocannons on the front of it. They're not that dissimilar. They're slower than a Leman Russ somehow, which is impressive. They also weigh 105 tons, so they're a bit heavier.
They're pretty chunky. Yeah, they're a little chunky. Yeah.
They're longer. They're 9.6 meters long as opposed to 7.8, but the width is about the same, and the height, they're just a little bit shorter than a Leman Russ. They still take multiple crew. So you've got a commander, a driver, 4 gunners, and a loader. So in terms of manpower, they're still up there in terms of how much you need for crew. They're super, super rare. You just don't really see them anymore. I can't remember what they're rules-wise now. I know that they were not great before. I don't know if that's changed. I'm assuming probably not, to be honest.
I think they're still mediocre.
It's just a case of if you're going to take a Malcador, then you may as well take something else because they're just not going to do as well. They're just not quite as good. They do have, though, one of my favourite just variants of any tank, which is just... okay, look, I'm just going to say it. It's just a bunker on tracks. And it's brilliant.
Lots of heavy bolters.
Yep.
And then move the cannon down a little bit, yeah.
Yep, they stuck a Demolisher cannon on the front. You've got some las cannons on the side, and you've got 4 heavy bolters up top in a bunker formation. This unfortunately takes the crew up because you need an extra gunner because you've got an extra gun. Yeah. It's the one that is still used the most out of all of them, but even then, it's still massively rare. It's like a good kind of line breaker tank because you just sort of drive it forwards, and most of the armaments on there are anti-infantry, so you can just kind of get them in there, blow away any like bunkers or pillboxes with Demolisher cannon, and the heavy bolters can just take care of anything walking around. It's really like it's a weird design. I'm not really sure where the inspiration for this is, other than like the first kind of World War I tanks, where it was just like a massive block of metal, but with guns poking out of every single side. It's
probably what it is, actually. That's probably
it's
the
great.
inspiration, yeah.
I really like it. It's silly, and I still don't think it's that great, but it's a cool looking tank. It's very much like, it looks a lot older than a lot of the Imperial Guard stuff, even by the standards of Imperial Guard. Like, it just looks World War II.
It looks like something that would actually exist IRL. Like, in the military, it looks like something that may have actually existed in, like, World War I, World War II.
Yep. I don't know how well it would do.
It's not as far-fetched as, like, a Baneblade, but yeah,
how dare
looks
you?
Like it could exist.
Baneblade is best boy. Don't ever disdain the Baneblade.
A Baneblade is great, but I can't imagine a Baneblade in real life. Like, that's... it would never happen. This thing is like, yeah, I could see that. Maybe
there was some... There was some tank I was curious about. It was like... It's one of the Lord of War options. It's like a gigantic armored personnel carrier, like a Chimera bunker, but also mixed with like a Baneblade. I'm trying to remember the name. I don't know if you had
that. Is the Crassus. There's the Crassus or there's the Gorgon. There's two different ones. So the Crassus is this guy, which is just a massive bunker on tracks. with heavy bolters attached to the front of it. The other one is the Gorgon, which I don't have an image of that actually. Which is that looks very kind of World War I, World War II. I'm just seeing if I can find a decent picture of it, because it's the armored assault transport. It's not available.
It looks like a turtle. That's what it looks like with its back. It looks like a fucking turtle.
There we go.
It does actually.
So the other one is this one. So that's the
oh god, I've seen that.
Yeah, it's kind of not that. It's just got a massive ramp on the front. It's not available anymore, sadly, which is a shame because I quite like it. But those are the other two transports outside of the Chimera and the Stormlord. I can't think of any others.
I think it's the Macharius. No, that's not the one.
The Macharius is another super heavy tank.
Darn, I thought there was like some enormous, like 700 point tank that you could use to. Yes, Shy found it.
What the fuck is that?
Yeah, that's a Space Marines Legion transport. So that's the Mastodon heavy assault transport.
Oh, it's a Marine transport. Oh, yeah. Okay. The Mastodon was what. Yes. Okay. I thought that thing was so funny because it looks like it's just so fat. It's so cool.
It's just like a massive truck to me. It's just like a massive truck with tracks. It's great.
It does look pretty cool, actually. I do kind of like that Mastodon. I think it's because that grill really makes it look kind of like just like I like it. That's cool.
It looks like it would not stop for anything, which is great.
Also, I can't get the image out of my head that was the Cassius one that looks like a turtle. Now I'm just imagining it with like a bandana around its eyes, like a blue bandana.
Well,
it's like a fucking turtle.
It really does. There is a more awesome version of the Crassus, which I was kind of saving to be one of the last ones, but I'll throw it in now because the Crassus has come up. Because so what they did. They took the Crassus and they went, all right, but what if instead of carrying troops, it carried a shed load of missiles?
Oh my god, it's literally just one of those missile thing.
Yeah.
Those things, you know what they are. You see them fire sometimes. They look cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, they just took out the troop transport capacity and stuffed a heavy assault launcher into it. So it's
Also, if those missiles are as long as that shed, those are some fucking ridiculous, Adeptus ridiculous missiles. It was unintentional. It was completely unintentional. But anyway, I caught myself. But yeah, those have got to be some ridiculous missiles. I said it again, but whatever.
Given up on the second one.
Yeah, I gave up on the second one. I was looking for a better adjective. I was like, fuck it.
I've given up too. I just...
Yeah.
But yeah, I love that. It's so good. And it, again, really good mix of, like, old design. Like, the front of it does not look sci-fi in any way. It just looks like some really ancient, like, tank from World War One or World War Two, like, mixed together. But then you've got this properly, like, kind of sci-fi missile launcher on the back. It's such a good mix. It's great.
It almost looks like if you fired those bottom missiles, they would collide just barely with the top of the tank.
It does. I have wondered whether you can... Like, one day I'll buy one, because I want to know if you can tilt it up a little bit further so that it doesn't look like it's about to annihilate itself once it fires the bottom row.
Maybe it's just a bad angle, right? They're just like, oh yeah, we got to tip this a little more.
Yeah. So the last couple, we do have, for the ultimate mix of old and new, when we were talking about the Malcador before, there is a variant of the Malcador which is... It's the perfect mix of ancient and sci-fi, because it's the Valdor Tank Hunter.
What the fuck is... Oh, was that the name after Constantine Valdor?
Yes, yeah. So it's the Malcador chassis, but they strapped a neutron laser projector onto it.
Whoa! A what?
That's
laser projector? Did you?
Wait, so the Onager Dune crawlers can carry neutron lasers. So is this like a triple-barreled variant or something?
It's like a long-range heavy variant of it that just destroys targets at... I believe it says it's the direct thing is it destroys targets on the molecular level. There's a Space Marine Vindicator that has a similar loadout, but it has two... No, it's the Cerberus super heavy tank that they've got that has a twin-linked version of it, because of course it does. But it's a proper Dark Age of technology gun, so they can't make them anymore. They can't do anything other than maintain them and fire them, and if something goes wrong with the firing, then you can have a feedback loop which will then tear the tank apart, which is not great. And you know, the weapon can fail and they'll have to replace it with something else. It's so good because the Malcador is by far the oldest looking tank that the Imperial Guard have access to. It's like proper ancient, doesn't look like it belongs in a sci-fi universe at all, but then there's a version of it that has a giant laser cannon on it. And it's such a good mix of the two. But it goes two ways, because there's the neutron version, and then there's this, which is the Malcador Infernus.
What the fuck is that?
Oh my god!
Wait, is that
like the fuel?
Yo, is that the war rig from Mad Max Fury Road? It's got the gas in the back. That might be the dumbest tank I've ever seen in my life.
Ever.
It's great. It's so good. So they've taken the Malcador, which, as we've already established, is slow as anything. I mean, the off-road speed, I believe it's either 10 or 15 kilometers an hour, right? The on-road speed is like 20, if that. And that is just carrying a purely anti-infantry, like anti-bunker weapon in the form of a gigantic Titan-grade flamer. So it's like this a similar kind of flamer that you'd find being carried by a Warhound Titan, but they stuck it to the oldest, most knackered chassis that they have, and then it carries the fuel behind it in a trailer.
Well, when it blows up, they're not losing anything too important then.
No.
I love how the fuel has an exhaust pipe attached to it. Like, it's fuel. It's just supposed to siphon forward into the flamer, right? Why does it need an exhaust pipe?
Oh,
for exhaust?
Sure.
Dude, I
Sure.
don't. 40K, man.
Yeah.
Hey, mate, it's great. It makes no
Imagine if you're
sense.
flying overhead and you're like, what is that tank? What's that thing behind? Is that shoot the fuel!
Now listen, that is a very awesome tank and a very awesome flamethrower, but it is not the coolest flamethrower in 40K. I can confirm this. It is the second.
The coolest flamethrower?
The coolest flamethrower is stuck on something called the Knight Valiant, and it's called a conflagration cannon. But there's a relic version of it known as the Traitor's Pyre, and that is the coolest. That is the coolest flamethrower in 40K. So I'm sorry.
Too.
I'm sorry, Mad Max Warrig. You've been outdone, kid.
What a name, the Traitor's Pyre.
It's actually Kirith, I don't know if you've seen it in game, but it's strength 7 -2 flat 2 damage 3d6 shot auto hitting flamer. Traitor's Pyre lets you re-roll all wounds.
I've been on the receiving end of one. It was not great.
It is so nasty.
It was not great for me.
I mean, the Knight Valiant isn't particularly good, even though the harpoon is fucking hilarious. But it's a triple-barreled flamethrower.
It's so good.
Is that what that looks like? Shy got a picture of it. That's gnarly.
Yeah.
It's my favorite Knight. It's so cool.
That's pretty great. Yeah, that's way cooler than the tank. I gotta say,
Well, that
that's
was
way cooler.
It's not hard to be cooler than that tank.
That's true. With its little fucking caboose of gasoline. Yeah, fair enough. Yeah.
Funnily enough, the tank, quite often a heavy target if it's ever deployed. Can't imagine why. You see something with a literal Titan flamer on it, and you're like, I should probably get rid of that. It's traveling at like 2 miles an hour. It should be pretty easy.
You know what I find incredibly hilarious with that though? Like, notice how the carriage is on like a wheel. It's like a rusted wheel, but
it's just on like cartwheels.
They couldn't even give it like they have the Cyclops demolition vehicles, right? Like even the Cyclops demolition vehicles have fucking treads. What the hell? And those are suicide bots.
Just rusted bicycle wheels.
This is so dumb.
It probably makes the most awful sound as it's rolling around. Just.
It's like those tricycles in It or something, where it's like.
Exactly.
Oh god.
That's a really nicely painted one, but it's still fucking stupid.
Yeah, exactly.
It looks great. Still dumb.
Still
That
really
said, is this a time to admit I do own one? I just haven't put it together yet. Thing is, I know how dumb it is, but it's one of the reasons I like it so much.
I feel like
that
if
happens
you're
a lot,
buying
to be honest.
if you're buying it, you know it's
You have
dumb,
to have a level of self-awareness, don't you? You have to be like, this
Absolutely.
is
It
idiotic.
has a gasoline caboose. I mean, come on. So stupid.
There is, I wouldn't say this is a stupid, this is the weirdest variant of all of these, of the Malcador, because it doesn't look anything like a Malcador. So, before we move on to the last two things,
What the hell?
that is the Minotaur. So, what they did was they took the like the chassis of the Malcador, and then they just strapped 2 Earthshaker cannons to it. So it drives forward, but it fires backwards. So when it drives, like when it moves, the guns are facing away from it, and it's got this kind of enclosed thing that's been built up around it. It has 2 Earthshaker battle cannons on it, and it's just like a more ridiculous Basilisk because it's got twice the weaponry. I missed it. Damn it! I even wrote it down.
You followed into our trap again.
I failed
You've
it.
activated my trap card.
Would you say this thing was called a Minotaur?
So this is the look. I'll be honest. It throws me the difference in pronunciation between what I say and what you say.
I mean,
it makes me want to pronounce it both ways.
Minotaur and Minotaur, I think, both work. I was going to look up the rules for it, and I can confirm it's trash, but it looks really cool, while also looking dumb.
Yep.
Can't confirm it's trash, but looks.
It literally is
super World War I, World War II.
It's literally
it
like
looks like an experimental weapon from then.
the front-facing shield just makes it so that if you get hit with AP1, it's AP0. And this thing just has 2 twin Earthshaker cannons and it's 300 points. This thing is so bad, but it's so derpy. I love it.
It's another one of those where you look at it and go, that is terrible, and I need it immediately. Like, it's just...
Oh my
It's a great design piece for your desk. You gotta have one.
Yeah. So the last two that we have is the Macharius.
What even is that?
One of my...
Yeah, I was gonna say.
yeah.
Never mind.
That's the
yeah, never mind. That's the other variant of the Minotaur. Yes.
Okay.
My bad.
I was very confused too for a second there. It's like,
I like the fact
he
that
doesn't have any weapons.
It borderline doesn't look like the same vehicle from multiple angles. It's great. It's like, what the hell am I looking at? Oh no, it's the same thing as before, but it just doesn't look right because none of it looks right. So the other one is the Macharius, which is it's another super heavy. So it's kind of similar to the Baneblade, a little bit smaller, doesn't have quite as many weapons on it, but it's essentially what Forge Worlds build if they don't have the STC for the Baneblade. It's not as popular, but it's another super heavy tank, which, I mean, to be fair, I quite like the look of these. I think they look pretty decent. They're again, maybe looking a little bit older, a little bit more kind of end of World War II sort of experimental weapon sort of thing in some areas, but it's cool because it's got like a decent range of guns. So it's got twin linked battle cannons, as opposed to having a mega battle cannon or the single battle cannon you get on a Leman Russ. It's got twin linked battle cannons on the turret, and it does actually have a turret, unlike the Malcador, which doesn't have one. It just has guns that face forward, so that instantly makes it better than that. There's also a tank hunter variant that's got Vanquisher cannons instead, again twin linked, and yeah, it's a cool tank. It does look decent, and it does have the best variant of any of these Forge World tanks in my opinion, because it has also got one that's got a Vulcan Mega Bolter in the turret, which is also the best one rules wise.
I think I know about is it the Vanquisher or is it the no, it's the Macharius Vulcan, duh.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty neat. I like the Vulcan Mega Bolter. Though it has fewer shots than the Stormlord for some reason, but it's still pretty neato.
Yeah, that one looks super badass. I love that one.
It's a great looking tank. It's one of the best ones that Forge will do. Yeah, it's got, again, it's like, it doesn't have as much of a mix of like old and new, but it just looks super rugged and heavy. Mm-hmm. But it's not quite on the same level of like absurd size as the Baneblade is, because the Baneblade looks like stupidly big next to a Leman Russ. The Macharius is not quite of the same kind of ridiculous size. Adeptus ridiculous.
It also has a bit of a nice change where the stubby Vulcan Mega Bolter is in the back instead of the front like the Stormlord, so it makes it look a little bit better that way instead of being so like front heavy and flat.
Yeah. It looks more. It looks like sleeker. Just a bit more kind of a bit more pleasing to the eye. I've really liked them. I've yet to buy one, but I'm going to end up with one because I want the Vulcan Mega Bolter one. It just looks great. Yeah. I think it's the best one rules wise, the Vulcan Mega Bolter one, but it's one of those things where as soon as I kind of saw them, I went, I need to own that regardless of how good it is, because look at it, it's perfect.
I don't know why, but it's giving me Halo vibes.
Because the Scorpion tank has the gun in the way back, like a Scorpion.
Oh, right! I forgot about the Scorpion. It's been a while since I played the Halo trilogy. I never played Halo 4, though.
That has nothing to do with this Imperial Guard tank, DK. How dare you?
Sorry!
Excuse you!
Excuse me, princess. God.
I'm just now trying to remember whether I've played any Halo outside of the first one when it was released on PC, which then just makes me feel like I'm crumbling into dust from the passage of time.
Hey, I've got Halo 1. I was bought Halo 1 for my birthday when I was 3.5 years old. No, I'm kidding.
You wish. You wish, boomer.
Great hand-eye coordination for a 3-year-old, though. That's impressive.
Hey, you see those kids who play like Fortnite at like 7 years old and just dumpster people. There's a thing there.
Yeah.
Are you comparing yourself to Fortnite kids right now? Is that what you're doing?
I'm showing
It's not a good look.
that with my age apparently goes my hand-eye coordination because I was a better gamer as a kid than I am today.
I think I'm a better gamer now than I was as a kid. I was a dumb kid.
I think
That was
you're just
really
you're just still a bad gamer.
Oh,
Harsh.
whoa.
I'm just blown away by the sudden source of apparently good Krieg variant paint jobs on fur affinity. Why?
Wait, what?
Wait, what
Shy,
the
just
fuck,
like,
Shy?
Shy was. That's a really well painted tank. That was great. Why is it on there?
Wow, this is
What?
man. This look at all the object source lighting and zenithal highlighting. It's so good. I'm sad that all the guardsmen are wearing fursuits with their las guns.
Oh God.
Looks like a Beastmen army, but it's not.
Oh.
Okay, we've been going for like an hour and a half.
Oh
I've done it
yeah.
again.
I
Sorry.
guess.
It's been fun, but I'm
It's
like,
okay. We
holy
don't have
shit.
to edit it.
Yo, the Cyclops demolition vehicle. Let's go. Let's end the episode
And that's
with
the
a bang.
That is the last one. That I saved
What
it
is
for last.
that?
Yeah, I love this thing. I actually use them on the tabletop sometimes. They're so fun.
It's a tiny remote controlled tank that blows up when it reaches the target. That's it.
It is.
That's
It
what
is. It is a 40k RCXD.
I love that.
It actually does some pretty legitimate damage too.
It's not bad. It's not bad.
It's legitimately like actually quite scary. It hurts really bad and it's cheap as shit.
How cheap we talking?
Well, so that's. Oh my God,
is that how they
Shy.
deploy them?
I don't think so. I think it's just a meme, but it's still very
So
good.
good.
If I'm not,
I wish that was how they got deployed. That's great.
if I'm not
Well, I
mistaken,
mean, that's off the Forge. That's off Forge World.
Is
off the
it?
Forge World website? Yeah, you can tell from the they've got the background. They always have that blue line partway up the picture that fades down into white again.
oh my God.
Yeah, it's an official image.
Oh my God.
So
So good.
So a Cyclops demolition vehicle is a 50-point model. It moves 10 inches. And the whole idea is that its demolition charge is a heavy 2d6, strength 9 minus 2 d3 damage weapon with 6-inch range. And when you decide to detonate it at like the end of your movement phase or the beginning of your shooting phase, every single enemy within 6 inches gets hit by that weapon. Which
It's great.
can be
It's
actually
great.
legitimately devastating.
Wow. That might be my favorite of the episode. I'll be honest with you.
I literally
that's
saved the best for
so-
last. That's what I did.
That's amazing. I love it. It's a cute little tank.
It's so. Oh my God! I thought at first I thought that was Dean Kamen. It's not Dean Kamen.
I didn't
Quite a
realize it was
segue.
based off actual. Because I knew the what is it? The stupid Malcador furnace is based off various tanks from World War II, where they just put flamethrowers on them, including one that actually towed the fuel source behind it. Again, went about as well as you'd expect.
Yeah, I imagine so. Yeah.
Wait, no shit. This thing actually has a rule that lets it embark on transports. Compact can embark and disembark in an Astra Militarum transport as if it was an infantry model, but it takes up the 6 models, and you can't blow it up immediately the same turn after it gets out. But that is
What's
so funny.
What's 40 divided by 6?
That
Because you could
you're
stick a
asking
bunch
the
of them in a
wrong guy.
Stormlord.
that'd be 6. That'd be 6 point something. So you could stick 6 of them,
Yeah.
Stick 6 of them in a Stormlord.
and they all just come out like little flies, like a carrier.
Yeah.
That'd be so good.
Oh god.
That truly is the best. I love that.
This
Especially that
truly
image of
is
it coming out of the other.
This truly is the Warhammer 40k.
You've done it, Horace.
You've done it, Horace Lupercal. You've killed me. You truly are the Warhammer 40,000.
Oh God, the rails.
That's
where
it.
Are they?
I'm out of tanks. That is all the tanks I have at my fingertips.
That's it. The tanks.
Hey, bro, we put tanks in your tanks.
Maybe tank us home, Bricky, huh?
That's pretty ridiculous, DK.
That's pretty Adeptus ridiculous, Bricky.
That's so funny. Oh, I want to die.
Very clever.
Hit me with a Cyclops demolition vehicle and end my suffering.
Ouch.
Actually, I feel like never mind. Thank you, everyone, for listening to this extra episode. That's ridiculous. A big thank you to Kirioth for joining us. Kirioth, plug yourself. Plug yourself everywhere. Plug. Be like Fulgrim and plug.
I just. Oh God.
Oh, that physically hurt me. Dude.
Come on.
Instead of plugging, can I just walk away? No. So. I do Warhammer stuff on YouTube. There's a channel. It's just Kirioth. Just search for Kirioth. You'll find me pretty much on any and every platform. And if it's 40k or Games Workshop or just wargame related in general, I'll probably do something on it at some point.
DK, where can they find you?
DK Diamante's everywhere. Twitter, Twitch, YouTube, all the places. I don't really use Twitch and YouTube much anymore, but hey, if you want to go check out the stuff I used to do, go check out the stuff I used to do. That's that. Hey, Bricky, where do they find you at?
You want to check out the stuff I used to do, then check out the stuff I used to do, you know? That's just the things I used to do. They can find me at Bricky, in Bricky, at Bricky, around Bricky, and near Bricky.
Oh. and Shy too. You can find Shy at Quite Shallow, The Quite Shallow, in all the places, Twitter, Twitch. You all know Shy. You all probably came here for Shy. I didn't need to shill her, but anyway.
Shy's
all the funny edits.
Shy's edits are what keeps our entire podcast alive.
If it was just us, we would have been dead a long time ago.
Yeah, we've been dead in the water.
Yeah. First episode, brick, right?
You brick?
Hey!
Hey, that's me. I'm that guy. And the episode.